So here's a question. Do you remember Angry Birds, Stella? If you do, or if you don't, it doesn't matter because I'm still gonna explain what it was and the failed potential it could have had. So yeah, let's get into it. This is the failed potential of Angry Birds Stella. Let's go. So for the people who don't know what Angry Birds Stella was, it was an Angry Birds spin-off made by Rovio on September 4th, 2014. The spin-off was mainly a game, but it's mostly known for the show that followed it. I think it was on Netflix, but most people saw it on YouTube. I also think there could have been some comics made for it, but I don't remember. I could be wrong on that, so let me know. Anyways, let's start off with the TV show, the thing that most people remember it for. So the show was made around the same time as other Angry Birds shows like Angry Birds Toons. For a quick summary, it's about Stella in a new world and, with new characters and stuff. Also, I'll note that Angry Birds Stella was, as a whole, marketed for girls, as basically being Angry Birds but for girls, which didn't really make much sense since there isn't really anything here that only girls could enjoy. But anyways, let's move on. So the series itself was made to follow along with the game. It also had some brand new characters, as I said earlier. These characters making more appearances in modern Angry Birds media, so they're not completely forgotten about. The series overall had a more serious tone than something like, let's say, Angry Birds Toons, as it had actual fight scenes and a storyline, which for an Angry Birds show, it definitely had high stakes. The series also had a new main villain, taking away from the generic king pig that most Angry Birds series have for a new bird villain. This character was essentially just King Pig but more competent. So yeah, as I said earlier, this series had a more serious tone to it, which could have been really special if Rovio continued with it. I'd still say that I got more enjoyment from something like Angry Birds Toons, but this still stands up high on its own. You could show this show to someone who isn't the biggest Angry Birds fan, and I'm sure they'd probably appreciate it in some way, whether for the animation or for the story. For an Angry Birds media, it was very unique for the time, especially for something that Rovio made. Oh, and I also should mention the game, because that was a big part of it too. So apart from the show, there was also a game, which was essentially just the show in game form. It had the same story, the same characters and everything. I gotta add that this game has probably some of the best graphics in an Angry Birds game. Like, this is pretty impressive. The backgrounds and sound and character designs all look well in the game. More than most Angry Birds games in general. I mean, just look at this. Pretty impressive. Also, the gameplay was pretty good. It was just a normal Angry Birds game as you'd expect, but with some twists to make it more unique. Again, such as a unique art style that we haven't really seen in another Angry Birds game. Another example of some differences in this game was that Stella, for example, didn't use her normal powers from Angry Birds, but rather had unique powers to this game that also matched up with the powers she had in the show. The original characters, as I mentioned earlier, were also playable in this game, though you could tell from their designs and from their powers that they were heavily inspired from the original Angry Birds characters, but the game overall was still unique enough to hold strong on its own. Of course, like most Angry Birds games around this time, it got shut down with all the other Angry Birds games around 2016. And the series got cancelled around the same time Angry Birds Toons and Toons TV as a whole got cancelled too. This was all happening in the Rovio downfall era, which we all know. So now you may be asking, what exactly was the failed potential that I have in the title? Well, I'd say the failed potential was probably just the fact that Rovio made this series so short-lived, both the game and the show. They were part of their own big universe that was building up to something bigger. Of course, we'll never get to see. Now, I could see why Rovio didn't have much faith in this, cause most spin-offs, if you didn't know, in general, for most media, usually don't do well compared to the stuff they are based off of. Here are a few examples. But I'm pretty sure Rovio knows that a lot of people had good memories with both the show and the game, and honestly, with the Angry Birds fanbase being bigger than it has ever been in a long while, this whole series could probably do well if brought back by Rovio. It was a super unique thing for a company like Rovio to do, because they don't usually experiment with new stuff, so for them to make something like this, it was pretty cool. But apart from a few cameos from some of the Angry Birds Stella characters, I think Rovio has forgotten that this thing ever happened, which kinda sucks. They don't even mention it in any new things, or like how they mention their other old games. They don't remember this. It's like they completely forgot this thing ever happened. Like, out of all the old games that Rovio talks about or brings back up for nostalgia, they never really talk about this, which is kinda weird since this is really popular. But yeah, it's probably a thing they regret doing, which again, kinda sucks. So in conclusion, this franchise spin-off had a lot of things going for it. A unique story, new characters, and possibly a new audience to market towards. But of course, it all came falling down, which didn't help that Rovio was on a decline in general at this time, with most of the games getting cancelled. Angry Birds Stella will be something that a lot of us had good childhood memories about, and honestly will stand out as one of the most creative things that has ever happened in the Angry Birds franchise. And as good as Angry Birds Stella was, I cannot say the same thing about the fan art. Like, look at this. What the hell is this? Come on guys, we can do better than this.